Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Prakash ji, Tejas ji, for wonderful Patanjali Yogasutra session. And now we move on to the daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. To over to you, Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Prakashji and Tejas, for a wonderful session, like always. So, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Let's get started. Today, we will get started directly with the topic, and that is a topic which has sparked some interest, which is the what are the different symptoms that you can expect in Bhav Bhakti. So we will talk about that, and then we have a spiritual cash-up segment coming up. So let me share my screen. We will be getting started right away. Happened. Share. All right. So we'll get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurudev Ishwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So today I picked up a shloka 18.55, which is like we often do or periodically do, where we go forward just to drive some discussion. I think there was um, a topic that sparked some interest, which is like what is Bhav Bhakti and what are some of the symptoms that we can expect to see whether we are already in Bhav Bhakti, right? Some people may have this suspicion or they may suspect, are we in Bhav Bhakti or not? So I thought we'll formally tackle this question. It will take a few sessions, but we'll at least till the ground and get started on this one. I'll recite it and you're welcome to follow along. Bhaktya mamabhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. Okay, let's take about 3 hands.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Aditya Parnaji.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah.
Bhaktya mamabhijanati yavanyashchasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Aditya ji.
राधे राधे भक्त्या माम् अभिजानाति यावान्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो माम् तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम्.
Very nice. Thank you, Riyaji. Let's take a couple of more hands.
Tejas ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavam yashchashmi tattvataha tato ma tattvato gnanatva vishayat tad anantaram.
Very nice. Thank you. Go ahead, Sandhya.
Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyashchasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishati tadanantaram.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay, last one. We can take Rupa ji. Please go ahead. This is the last one for the day, and then we
Radhe
continue.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Bhaktya mamabhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva विज्ञाते तदनन्तरम्.
Thank you, Rupaji. Very nice. So this is a verse from 18th chapter, 55th verse, in which Lord Krishna is saying, only by loving devotion to me does one come to know about who I am in truth. Okay, so pay close attention to the words loving devotion. Then having come to know me, my devotee enters into full consciousness of me. So this is the broad level statement, right? So we'll talk about the loving devotion, what are the different stages in it. And then we will also talk about some of the symptoms, however far we can cover today, because we have a wonderful segment coming up, spiritual catch-up segment coming up. So we'll see how far we can go today. But it'll take multiple sessions. So let's get started. Now, what are the different levels of bhakti? Let's first understand that. Okay, we'll start from the basics. What is this? First is called sadhan bhakti, that majority of the people are doing right now. Okay, so when you reach the peak of sadhan bhakti, that's when you enter bhav bhakti. Okay, now and then the goal of sadhan bhakti is to enter bhav bhakti. Now, if you are already in bhav bhakti, that means you have already reached the goal of sadhan bhakti. We'll talk a little bit more about sadhan bhakti as well. So that is the peak. And there's nowhere else to go other than enter into bhav bhakti when you have reached the top or the pinnacle of say sadhan bhakti. Then what happens? Now the bhav bhakti journey starts. Now from bhav bhakti, the peak of bhav bhakti is called siddha bhakti, prema bhakti. When you reach the peak of bhav bhakti, it is called siddha bhakti. Now the point here to be noted is that when you are in bhav bhakti, even if you're 99.9% there, you have not reached the peak, you can still fall down. Okay, you're still under Maya. But when you reach siddha bhakti, prema bhakti, then you have crossed a milestone part of it, right? So perfection of bhav bhakti is the siddha bhakti. Now what happens in sadhan bhakti? Your attachment to world is there, right? We spoke about this concept that your mind is naturally in world. You have to forcefully take it to world, God, because your attachment is to the world. And God, it is like you have to force it to take it. However, the scales tilt, as you can see. Now the attachment to God starts dominating your mind. And for you to operate effectively, then you have to step back. That is what happens in Bhav Bhakti. So, and then from a graphical standpoint, you have material desires, which will keep on reducing. And then your desire to meet God keeps on increasing. You start gravitating towards that as you progress in your sadhan bhakti. And then when you reach the perfection of bhav bhakti, then that there is an intense desire to meet God. Intense means it's like you can't live. It's like fish out of water at that point. So it's a very intense desire at that point. Not even a moment. A moment can seem like ages, is how it has been described. And the purpose of this preparatory devotion or the sadhan bhakti is to remove the attraction of all material objects from the mind. That is essentially what we are trying to do. And if all the material attractions are removed, then that means we have perfected sadhan bhakti. We are entering bhav bhakti now. Okay. Let's go a little more deeper into that. So this is taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is one of the most significant scriptures from a bhakti standpoint. And these are the symptoms that are defined from a bhav bhakti standpoint. Kshantri, Vartyam, Kalatvam, we'll talk about that, each one of those. So let's understand sadhan bhakti first. So if you look at it, the sadhan means practice. And this is the elementary level in which a seeker is just trying to learn to focus on the divine form of Lord, or trying to develop that relationship and start practicing it. It could be through Roop Dhyan and the devotional practices that we do. Right. So, and then you follow the instructions of Rasik Saint, and then the seeker, they continue to practice Roop Dhyan. They gradually start reaching the higher stage where they become more sincere and practice regularly. They start deriving the bliss out of it. And then the seeker starts to experience an ecstasy, which increases day by day. And as the practice fructifies with the prolonged practice, it starts becoming a second nature or easier, right? You can do Roop Dhyan even with your eyes open. And there are no ups and downs in life. And then ups and downs in life do not have any influence on the sadhana. Sadhana becomes a regular routine regardless of what you are doing. whatever state of life you are in, ups or downs doesn't matter. And this is the start of the next level of preliminary devotion, which is called Bhava Bhakti. Okay, now let's talk about some of the symptoms of Bhava Bhakti. What is it that you can expect to manifest in you if you're already in Bhava Bhakti? There are quite a few. We'll try to cover as many as we possibly can today with a bit of a discussion as well. So symptoms of Bhava Bhakti are Shanti. Starts with Shanti. We'll talk about it a lot. Avyarth Kalatvam, Virakti, Manshunyata, Asha, Samutkantha, Naam Gaan mein Ruchi, and then finally Leela, Sthal, Prem. You want to go to where Leelas have been performed. So these are all the symptoms that manifest. Now, each one of it could have a discussion on its own, but we'll try to cover as best as we possibly can. Let's start with the first symptom, Shanti, Shanti only, right? So no amount of penance or devotional practice can give rise to these symptoms. If you think I will perform a lot of austerities and stuff, it's basically accepting guardianship of a genuine saint is vital to grow in the path of devotion, is what Chaitanya Charitamrita says. Okay, so these are not sequential or step by step. These are all the symptoms. Let's put it that way. So let's and then finally you get prema bhakti when we perfect all of these, or we have grown to the required levels in each one of those, and that only God and Guru would know. So goal of sadhan bhakti is bhav bhakti, and goal of bhav bhakti is prem bhakti. And bhav bhakti is one single ray of the sun called prem bhakti. So if you look at it, prema bhakti is like the whole spectrum, much more deeper than bhav bhakti. Bhav bhakti is just one of the rays of this, what you're seeing here. So let's talk about the first symptom, symptom number 1, which says Shanti. So if when you reach this stage of Bhav Bhakti, and you are in Bhav Bhakti, now how is it defined? It means that when one reaches this state, even if there is a genuine reason for anxiety, the person remains calm and tranquil. Okay, that is the first symptom that manifests. So let's say your whole family and wealth is annihilated in a split second, then also they don't lose their cool and level-headedness, and person is said to have attained Shanti. I mean, it's the family example is just one, but it's any interaction with any person, anything. It's like doesn't matter. You never lose your cool around it. You are always tranquil and serene around it, and you do not go through ups and downs, emotionally in your head when you reach this stage. So this is one of the symptoms of Bhav Bhakti. Any questions on this before we move further? Yes, Sandhya?
Same as equanimity.
Yeah, if you look at these concepts, they start converging, right? So equanimity, you need to have equanimous that Bhagavad Gita is talking about. So you have actually realized that equanimity, it's no longer a theory at that point. Like nothing can ruffle your feathers at that point. Ice cool as a cucumber, they say that becomes part of your DNA. It's not like only up to a certain threshold will you be cool, after that no. It's like regardless, you have crossed that level, because you understand it's a play of, first of all, our thoughts is a play of guna, and secondly, the circumstances around that, they are fleeting, right? They could change, and everything you need to have acceptance or prasad buddhi also, like around that part of it. So you just accept everything serenely and with perfect tranquility. Yes.
And is it a prerequisite to have this perfected before you experience any other stages of Bhav Bhakti?
Not, it's like I said, it's not one is
Sequential.
dependent upon other. It's not sequential. All these symptoms will manifest when you reach Bhav Bhakti. That means in Sadhan Bhakti itself, when we have practiced this to an extent that all of these symptoms will manifest. It's not like first this will manifest in the second, or only if you manifest, this one is perfected, then only the second one you graduate to, nothing of that sort. Tejas, you had a question? No, it's not. It's a conch shell. I thought it's your hand. Yes, go ahead,
No,
please.
I did have a question, Radhe Radhe. And
Radhe.
also, should there be a consistency in these symptoms? That's the other thing. Like maybe sometimes it might be ephemeral, and then we might think that okay,
Ephemeral would be a function of something, right? Ephemeral means terms and conditions apply. I will be Shant, but terms and conditions apply. So here it says there are no terms and conditions. Even when you have a reason, it's like you just maintain that regardless of the situation in that point.
Okay, so true, it should be true and genuine. So yeah. Okay.
See, when we have reason to be peaceful, right? For example, if you are sitting in a satsang, listening to a lecture or doing a kirtan, you'll be peaceful. But let's say you come out and somebody steps on your toes or abuses you or does something completely unexpected that is unpalatable to you, that time you are truly being tested. So when you have a reason to be upset and reason to lose cool, and still you are able to maintain that because it has become irrelevant or insignificant for you, that's the symptom we're talking about here.
That's when you truly pass the test. Yeah.
That's where you're truly transcended those emotions. So true
Thanks,
test is when you have a reason and still it is not, the situation does not ruffle you. Okay. The second one is avyart kalatvam. Now, every moment spent without loving remembrance of God is a waste of time. So that's a pretty heavy duty ask, right? So then you will not resort to gossiping and or kya chal raha hai in life or anything other than it's like something will pinch you or knock from inside that, you know what, every moment here is getting lost if it is not spent in the remembrance or the loving remembrance of God. It happens to us, right? Occasionally, let's say you really are attached to somebody or you're thinking about some meeting somebody and somebody drops in just at the same time, said, oh my God, time waste. It can happen, but that feeling related to God is persisting now. It's like, oh, you know, waste of time is happening. I need to do my sadhana, or I would rather be at this thing, or I should rather get my own time, you know, doing this. So that thing starts harboring or dominating your thought at that point. Any questions on this one? It's a good one, right? So basically, this is taking you close to that sarveshu kaleshu, right? Every moment, it is taking you close to that sarveshu kaleshu. We are pretty much there if you start getting there. So see, all these concepts will start converging what Bhagavad Gita is talking about as well. For a devotee, true devotee, that Lord Krishna is talking about, that they are never lost, and I know I take control of them. Now that is the attitude. That means what? You will not indulge or engage in activities that are not, enabling you to remember God or taking your mind away from it. And gossiping and other things would be the last thing you would want to do that. It will be like the biggest waste of time at that point, right? So this is another symptom. What else is there then? Symptom number 3 is virakti. Seeker does not have to desist from sensual pleasure. He has natural disinclination for enjoying the objects. So that means we have transcended these as well. 5 things that we spoke about. Just to transcend one takes so much of effort. You know, whether it's taste or, you know, sight or feel, but then they are beyond that. So it's a pretty heavy duty ask here if you think about it. All of these to happen in Bhav Bhakti. That means you are not addicted to or attached to or crave for anything related to your senses at that point. That is also one of the symptoms of Bhav, which manifest during Bhav Bhakti. Now, the question that I still have to grapple with in my mind is, have they perfected it, or it's a pretty advanced level? Are these symptoms of advanced levels? Because if you've already transcended that, is it that you need to transcend it completely, or you need to be at an advanced level on each one of these to enter the next level? Right? There's a bit of a difference there. Because if you're already there, that means now you are building your eligibility to get Prem Bhakti. If you have done all of this, that means you are already there. Right? So then the Virakti aspect would be there from the world. You're not attached to anything at that point. Nothing matters if you get, there's no preferences and nothing. And you are always in a state where your mind is absorbed in God and you are tapping into that bliss, started tapping into that bliss already. The 4th symptom is Manshunyata. That means that this desire of being praised or getting respect from others is zero. Tiladapi sunichyan tarorapi sahishnuna amanena manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That the Shishtastakam shloka is there. So one of them is amanena manaden kirtaniya sadahari. That don't seek respect, give respect to others. But if you're craving for it, or not even craving for it, but let's say somebody appreciates you, admires you, and you feel something good, that means that element is still there. So that thing is gone, completely void, zero. It has been neutralized. Seeking respect or relishing respect at all, or seeking compliments, relishing compliments, all of that goes completely exhausted. That is another symptom that manifests. Let's move on to the next one. Asha. Asha is unwavering positive attitude. You don't become gloomy, despondent, lose hope, what will happen, nothing is happening in life, I've been trying this for such a long time, still it is not working, am I progressing, this, that, all that stuff gets neutralized. You have a firm faith in the grace of Shri Krishna, and that itself keeps you going on the grace of God and Guru, and then nothing else matters at that point. So that eternal optimism is something a devotee never loses at that stage. They are optimistic because it's like you're going to hit a jackpot, and it's just a matter of time before you would. Then why would you be sad? Right? You don't get. Yeah, you might be thinking, that okay, I need to work hard and all that stuff, but that doesn't mean you become despondent about it. So that is another attitude where you don't lose hope. The next one is samutkantha. That means ever increasing eagerness to see God. And it's like you start seeing maybe a little bit of his traces here and there as well. Oh, I almost saw him. I almost saw him. I might see him anytime now. Okay, those kind of feelings will start happening. The flash can happen too. Okay. Now, if you see that now, that could be because Krishna gives chocolates periodically as well. Doesn't mean you have reached Bhakti, but then when that feeling starts getting strengthening in your head, that you know what, it could be any moment I can catch hold of him. That feeling starts strengthening to an extent that you start living that feeling. That is called samutkantha. And then you become very eager. And then they say that then like it is explained that when every pore and fiber of you is craving to see God, and it seems like that if I don't see God for a next moment, I'm going to, my life years will go away. That's when God will appear. So he's a tough taskmaster in that sense, right? But yeah, it all starts with this kind of a craving where you start having that belief, okay, I think I'm going to see him today, or I'm going to catch his glimpse today again. That thing starts becoming a reality, and you start living it as well. Okay, symptom 7 is Nam Gan Me Ruchi. This is self-explanatory. You love singing his names. No matter how much you hear about him, his names, kirtans, it's like, okay, I need more of it. It's like indefatigable kind of a desire which never gets tired. Okay, I need more of it. I need more of it. That ruchi is like you wish you had ears that could devour an entire ocean of God's names. Yes, Adya, you had a question on this?
There's a comment from Ganpriya ji. Samutkantha is Sabri's Bhakti, like Shabri's Bhakti.
True. Every year, every day for 40 years, she kept on believing that today is going to be the day. I'm going to see that. Very nicely pointed out. Thank you for
And
sharing.
actually, now I have a question. So, is different aspects of Bhav Bhakti, is this also a pack of noodles? Like they all come together?
It will be pack of noodles only. It's like you have perfected your sadhan bhakti. That's where all of these symptoms will start manifesting in you.
But what if you're experiencing, say, one of these and not the others?
I don't know, it's 0.1 bhav bhakti or 0.2 bhav bhakti is defined, but it is defined as one bhav bhakti. So I would imagine all symptoms. That is why the goal of sadhan bhakti is bhav bhakti. And when you are in bhav bhakti, I would imagine there are depths there within each one of these symptoms. And when you perfect each one of those, that's when you enter the prema bhakti. God says, okay, now we are talking when we get into bhav bhakti. And then he keeps on polishing you further, because now his yoga maya can start intervening in your meditation and stuff like that. And then when you perfect all of these symptoms, I guess, probably is what my guess is, then you enter into prem bhakti. But yeah, it's a journey in that sense. Gungan, that is again insatiable thirst for glories of Sham Sundar. Keep on listening to his pastimes, kirtans, names, discussions. Discussing God becomes such a good topic for people, right? You want to hear more about it, talk more about it. Krishna has also said in Bhagavad Gita that my devotees, they love to talk about me. and they'll pick up conversations, so they like to talk about me and share it with others. So this symptom will start manifesting as well. And then I think this is the last one, Leela Sthal Prem. You would like to visit spots where God has manifested, right? People like to go to Vrindavan. Hey, Bhati Leela happened here. This is where he took birth. This is where Radha Kund is. So that starts becoming, and then you want to go to those spots and those places where God has manifested his Leelas. You want to touch that, smell that, feel that, be part of that ambience. So that starts manifesting as well. With that, I will take a quick pause. Attention, please. No, there's nothing attention here. We'll talk about the next level of bhakti as well. But any questions before we transition to the next segment?
First, there's a request from Ganpriya ji. If you could share the fourth one once again. Fourth stage, I guess, is what she's asking, or fourth slide she mentioned. So,
okay, Ganpriya ji, it will be my extreme pleasure to do that. Here you go.
and then I have something which is very exciting regarding this Leela Sthal Prem that I thought I'll share. So, in Jagannath Puri, where you do the darshan of Jagannath ji, like next to his murtis, there is this particular wall. On that stone, there are fingerprints of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and those were there when he when he went to meet Jagannath ji. He was at that peak of divine love, that the heat that was manifesting from his body had melted that stone where he had put his hand. And like just being there and being able to touch that is another level of feeling I felt. So I just wanted to share this. And if anybody plans on going to Jagannath Puri, do not miss out on it. If you know, then it's yeah.
Thanks for calling that out. So that is where I think when see, one thing is people say let's go to Dham, this Dham chart, this place, that place. Okay, that's ticking a box. But if you go there and you truly feel overwhelmed, I am breathing the same air where God did his Leela, and it brings in that sense of awe and that feeling of overwhelmment. That is what is needed here. That bhav is very important. So we can talk about bhav as well, but bhav is something that is that manifests as well, because we're talking about bhav bhakti here only. And this Jagannath Stam that you're talking about, yes, he would watch Jagannath from a distance. Why would he do that? So that his bhav is preserved, because if he'll get too close, he may see some imperfection in the deity which may distort his bhav, dilute his bhav. So he said, I'm not going to take that chance. So he would watch it from a distance, and that sight itself would enthrall him so much that it generated so much of heat that it left those finger imprints, and which is still there. So preserving that bhav is important. But when we go to Dham, if we bring in that sentiment, then we extract the maximum benefit out of that pilgrimage that we do as well. When we bring in that sentiment, as opposed to just saying, okay, tick, tick, tick kind of a deal, we have gone there, right? So that bhav is very important. And that takes us closer to these, the different symptoms where we can not wishfully, but mindfully try to inculcate that as well. And we go to any pilgrimage. Yes, maybe the last one, and then we move to the next segment. Yeah, couple, maybe two, take real quick.
Aparna ji is asking in the chat, just like 6 points of surrender, do we have to have all the 9 symptoms of Bhava Bhakti at the same time?
They would manifest typically. It's like a pack of noodles, we said, right? It's not that you have ruchi in Gungan, but you feel nothing when you go to Leela Sthal. Or you go to, you feel, very overwhelmed when you go to Leela Sthal, but at the same time, you're not optimistic. So it's like one would lead to another. So they'll just come
But
like.
this equanimity, it look like you may have ruchi in Gungan, you might be, but you might still not be at this level of but then you say perfection is the thing. So
True. So I think when you reach a certain threshold in any one of those, others would manifest as well. That's how it goes. But as part of sadhan bhakti, we have to continue to strive for each one of these. And it's a self-check. I mean, do we feel bad? Anything says anything? Are we attached to something where we can feel a little ruffled? And those are the things we need to neutralize, and then let devotion do the rest for us.
and
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ganpriya is saying on visiting Shanti Pani, the Gurukul of Lord Krishna and Balram was Leela Sthal for us.
Yeah. Leela Sthal is important, and you get that ruchi gets sprouted in you. It's a good feeling if you feel like going to any of those places. That means, yes, now you have started appreciating it and not going in just to do a tick kind of a deal, but that those bhavs are coming in as well. So it's a good feeling in that sense. So hopefully that today's points were helpful. I thought I'll bring it and we'll talk about the next level as well, maybe next session. But with that said, now let's transition to our next segment. I'll over to you, Cash, for the spiritual cash up segment, and looking forward to the topic for the day today.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe, everyone. Okay, we're going to do a segue from bhakti to a completely different path today. All right, so this is a story of a set of twin brothers. One grew up to be a successful executive, and the other one grew up to be a jobless alcoholic. And they were both asked the same question, which was, how did you turn out to be this way? And they both gave the exact same answer, which was, my father was a no good alcoholic, and that's why it turned out this way. So the takeaway here is, we all have these stories, and we all have these circumstances, and it boils down to, what do you choose to do with it? Do you choose to rise above it? So that brings us to the topic for today, transcending by transcending. And we start a new chapter today. It's the paths to attain God. And we're going to start with the path of karma. And today is episode 1. So let's get into it. Before we start, though, we're going to do a recap and ruminate. But in this case, we'll start right at the top. So we started looking at Premrasa Siddhant back in February. And over the past few months, we've been step by step with Maharajji's logical flow of walking a seeker through the very fundamentals. We've arrived finally at the paths to God. So let's just take a quick look at how we got here. So as Maharajji explained in the beginning, the goal of each one of us is to attain that unlimited divine bliss. And then he said, bliss is nothing but God. God is bliss. And therefore, when we say we want bliss, we want to attain God. So God, then we learned, is beyond our senses, mind, and intellect, because such is his nature. He cannot be understood with the faculties we have. But if he graces us, then, or whoever, that person can attain him. So to know him, we got to have his stamp of approval. And then how do we get that stamp? So that is attained when we surrender our mind to God. But our mind, plot twist, it's been attached to the world since eternity. So we continue to believe, we have firm conviction that this is where we'll find that perfect happiness. And that's why we're attached to the world. So for that, we need to understand what this world really is so that we can cultivate that detachment. And for that, we have to know this world is covered in Maya and we're under Maya's sway. So nothing can be perfect here. That detachment means we should be devoid of love or hate. And that comes, Maharajji says, with repeated contemplation on the reality of the world. Then once we're a little bit detached from the world, that's when we start to think that there has to be something beyond this. And we identify that we need to improve ourselves to make progress on our spiritual journey. And that's where, with our yearning, we can meet a true saint. And this is where we can ask the saint or learn from that saint, which are the various paths to attain God. And of course, we surrender to that saint so that he can lead the way. So this is how we got to this point. What a beautiful logical flow it is. And this is what we'll focus on today. So we'll start finding out what those paths are. So now let's get into it. Before we start talking about the paths, though, I want to do a gentle but solid reminder that there's a lot of literature out there with these paths to attain God and general tenets of spiritual practice. But as a reminder, we're anchoring to Maharajji's teachings here. So that's what we're going to discuss. So he says all scriptures from the Vedas to the Puranas, they refer to only these three paths. And any other path that we may have come across or read should somewhere fall in between these three categorized paths. So the Supreme Personality God has three personal powers, and we talked about those a while ago. So we have the Sat aspect, he's the absolute truth. We have the Chit aspect, and then we have the Anand aspect. And then, since we're fragmental parts of this Supreme Personality, we also have three natures that align with each of these. So the path of action, karma, that corresponds to the Sat aspect of God. Gyan, the path of knowledge, corresponds to the Chit aspect of God. And then Bhakti, which is the path of devotion, corresponds to the Anand, the bliss aspect of God. And today we'll start talking about karma. So just as an overview, this is probably not going to be anything revolutionarily different from what we've learned over the course of chapter 4, when we looked at karma in a lot of detail. But we'll try to go deeper into some of those concepts. So now let's start talking about karma, right? So the Vedas state, the person who follows the path of karma attains ignorance. So you might think, wait, what? You just said it's a path to attain God, and how do you end up with ignorance? So what it's trying to tell us is the highest consequence of following just doing the karma practice is attainment of celestial abodes. But this attainment is limited, it's transitory, and it's material. So to practice just karma is not a wise thing to do. At most, what it can get you is heaven. Now, in my countless lifetimes, I've probably been to heaven once or twice, but I don't remember what that looked like. So this is probably the stairway to heaven that just came up in the graphics. So the max you can go to is the stairway to heaven. But this can never lead to the attainment of God, nor can it liberate us from Maya. So that's kind of what this statement is trying to tell us. So then what are the consequences of doing duty? So if we go back to Shri Krishna's teachings, he told Arjun, if you fight the war, you will attain one of the two. And then if we don't look at this in totality, then it's easy to misunderstand. So when he said, if you fight the war, you'll have one of two results. Either you win and you'll rule over this earth. So you'll get your crown, you'll get your palace back, and you'll have all your kingdom back to rule over. Or if you fight the war and you die on the battlefield while performing your duty, then you go to heaven. So if we don't look at this in totality, holistically, we might think, as long as I'm doing karma, I'm getting rewarded either way. But there's more to it than that. So Shri Krishna further added that both heaven and kingship of the earth, they're both temporary and they're both Maya, and they both result in bondage. So we can't just stop there. There has to be more to it. At this point, Arjun said, if I fight the war, it's going to result in bondage, whether I win or whether I lose, right? So why should I engage in war? I don't want to fight at all. And that's where Shri Krishna told him, well, if you don't perform your karma or your prescribed duties, then it's sinful, and then you will go to hell. So in my countless lifetimes, I've probably been to hell many times. Unfortunately, I don't remember that either, but here's a descriptive picture. So where we are is, if we do our karma, we get rewarded. If we don't do it, it's sinful. So it's consequences either way. What it boils down to, if we look at it, is if Arjun engaged in karma, he had two paths to choose from, or two paths he could possibly walk. The one path would lead him to material reward. He would get his kingdom and crown back. The other path would also lead him to a material reward, but it was a higher reward. It was eligibility to go into heaven. If he did not engage in karma, he had to walk a rocky path and suffer punishment by going to hell. And then Sri Krishna revealed a better and more beautiful way forward. He said, you don't have to do either of these. And then he revealed to Arjuna that you can do something that transcends both of these, and you can take the path to surrender. And here's that word, transcends. This is what we'll dive deeper into. And this is where we'll leave the chapter and go into some contemplation on what transcendence is. So most of us, we hold ourselves to certain standards, right? As we go about life. And then those standards could be based on some of the limitations we see ourselves having in our life. And then we also have our individual circumstances. So in most cases, we might feel that we're anchored to those standards. This is just how things should be, because we are bound by our limitations and we're weighed down by our circumstances. So for example, we might say, this is the best I can ever hope to do. Remember the twins in the beginning of the segment? We might think this is the best I can hope to do because my nature is so-and-so, I was just born with these genes. And we might look at our circumstances and say, my situation is so-and-so in my family, at my job. This is how my life is. But when we talk about transcendence, it is the act of going beyond our ordinary limitations. It is the act of rising above our circumstances and surpassing our standards to go to a superior state, right? So let's look at an analogy of going beyond our circumstances. So let's say there's this person who works at a company. And of course, when you're employed by a firm, you have to follow the rules and you're bound by the limitations of that employer. So for example, when she does the work, she gets rewarded for it in terms of the pay and the benefits, as long as she's putting in the work. If she goes above and beyond in the work, she might get a higher reward in terms of a performance bonus or something else. However, if she doesn't do her job well, then there's a possibility she can get demoted, even fired, move teams, and so on. So again, you see this theme of there's reward and there's punishment. What if so either way, she's bound by the company rules and she has to work within those guardrails. What if she wanted to live up to her whole potential and feel less constrained and more empowered? So maybe this person could transcend those company rules by becoming self-employed, right? So here's one way as an analogy of transcending your circumstances or the current standards or the current limitations. Now, if we extrapolate this to any situation, we think about what drives us to do the things we do and what pushes us to accomplish things and what pushes us to accomplish more than we think we can do. Let's look at extrinsic motivation first. So external cues, what can drive us? So either earning that reward or avoiding that punishment can be drivers for what we do. For example, a person could work hard to get accolades or more money, and they could avoid doing minimal work because they don't want to get bad performance reviews or get demoted. Some people might treat their coworkers respectfully because they know people are watching and they want to get that praise for their excellent behavior. Some people don't get into this because harassing coworkers because they don't want to get in trouble with HR. So it's different reasons why they're behaving the way they're behaving. Some people donate money for tax benefits. Some people will pay tax just to avoid the fines. So what is it that's driving you from the outside? But all of these things, when we think about external cues, they're all driven either by reward or by punishment. On the other hand, you have Okay, so if the external world is our motivation, then our inner world is going to go up and down because you're waiting on external cues to provide you that validation. On the other hand, if we're intrinsically motivated, then we're banking on that inner fulfillment. We have that inner drive. So working hard for inner growth, fulfillment, and development, that's the reason I want to do my work well, not because I want more money or because I don't want a bad review. I treat my coworkers respectfully because it's the right thing to do, not because I don't want to get in trouble with HR. And I donate money and pay taxes to be a good person and a responsible citizen, not just because I don't want to get caught not paying taxes. So we can transcend or rise above our external reasons for whatever it is we're doing if we keep looking for that inner fuel to keep going onwards and upwards. So that's kind of the point of discussion here. So then if we draw this to our spiritual journey, again, here we're slaves to reward and punishment. How? So when we perform actions, either we're doing our material duties, which means we're getting those material rewards, we're fulfilling our social responsibilities, or we're trying to get more noble and do, better things, volunteering and donations and things like that. We might be eligible for higher rewards there, sure. Sometimes we're just plain doing bad deeds or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And in that case, we earn those demerits. Either way, they're all resulting in bondage. And that cycle keeps going because we cannot be without performing actions. We are doing something every second. And so this cycle keeps continuing. And that's why we're in that trance of samsara. And the scriptures and our gurus are saying the only way to end this trance and transcend the bondage is by surrendering to God. So this seems like the permanent solution out of this cyclical bondage. So let's take this home, this permanent solution. We said applied knowledge is real power. So what can we practice? Let's look at the concept of solve versus resolve. So when we solve something, usually that refers to the process of finding the correct answer to a given problem. But when we're trying to resolve something, we're trying to find a permanent solution. We're trying to bring the problem itself to an end or a conclusion where we don't have to deal with the problem anymore. So if we look at this problem of karmic bondage, every lifetime we're creating new karma and we're thinking, okay, how am I going to solve this problem of repaying those karmic debts? Or how can I go from creating bad karma to good karma to even better karma? So trying to solve these problems is never ending because no matter what we do, we're still creating more karma. On the other hand, we can think about putting an end to the cycle of bondage altogether. And at least we know there's a permanent solution, which is easier said than done, yes. Surrender, easier said than done. But we are fortunate enough to learn the ins and outs of how to surrender. And we can start somewhere. We can start putting that into practice. Every journey begins with one step, and we know what step to take. So we have to stop the cycle of solve and revolve in that cycle. And instead, we have to make a resolve to resolve. So I will leave you with this one thought. We are weighed down by our limitations, standards, circumstances, bondage, right? And we know surrender is the cure-all. So use the helium balloon of bhakti to rise instead of fall. And that concludes our segment for today. As always, I appreciate your patience and attention. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, I think your last closing statement, it always brings a smile to so many faces. So helium balloon to rise above our circumstances, limitations, and standards, right? That was a good one. How do we transcend that? And moving from solving something to resolving it, right? Addressing the problem itself. Beautiful presentation. I think you resolved a lot of lot of things that might be cropping up in your head. I saw a lot of people were like, yeah, now it makes sense. So let's open it up now for all. By the way, if you feel inspired and you see, right, how crisp to the point it presentations are and it drives home the point, I think you have a Bhagavad Gita game changer starting from June 21st or 24th, I believe, that you can probably
24th.
post it here for everybody's reference, that you can enroll youth and kids for, because it will be taken by hers truly only, not yours truly. So please do check it out. It's going to be an amazing session. With that, let's open it up for our participants' feedback. But again, fantastic presentation like always. Go ahead, Sandhya.
Just wowdy once again. So thank you so much. And this helium thing, like again, like mind blowing. Your last slides are always like so thoughtful. And I also personally love that slide in which you had given specific examples to explain the concept of the cases where we are driven by external punishments or rewards versus internal motivation. And it was so much understandable that which one of them is fulfilling and which one of them will just make us keep dangling, right? So it was great. So thank you. I have one question, which is regarding the very first slide, I think the first or second, where you talked about Sat Brahm, Chit Brahm, and Anand Brahm. So with the path of karma, you attain Sat Brahm. But so what does that exactly mean? Because the Satchit Anand are in some sense complete on their own. So they are, if I understand it right, they are all God realization. But when we are talking about karma, we are saying the max you can go is to material rewards only.
So yeah, that's part of the conversation. If you just practice karma, that's going to give you material rewards, but that's where the yoga aspect comes in. That's for next time. So the yoga part of it will, when you bring in the yoke to God, that's when you bring in the devotional aspect of it, when you start offering all your work to God. That can take you all the way.
So yeah, in case there, that's what I wanted to confirm. So in Sat Brahm, Chit Brahm, and Anand Brahm, it's Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga respectively, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yoga is there in all, yeah, that's right. Good question, though. Yes, Prakash.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Sanjay. In fact, I had the exact question that you asked me. My question is also clarified. But yeah, Kashti, I mean, I don't know what to say. I think it's a simple concept of Karma Yoga. You just came down to our level and then explained it, peel the onion and give it to us, right? With all perfect examples from our practical life. Every slide is a wow, wow, wow. I mean, one slide is wow, and then I can go to the next slide. Yeah, wow, this is also wow, this is also wow. So there's no end to it, that wow factor. So thank you so much. I think these are all kind of, all these slides are like jewels, gems that we should kind of store them and keep on ruminating and contemplating on them every day. So I'm storing all your slides. So I hope I'm going to do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, a lot of punch is packed in each one of those slides, right? If I start taking your slides, I'll make a killing out of it, okay, for months, I'm telling you. A lot of punches packed so very nicely. And then I think it's commendable that within 15-20 minutes, you are able to cover so much of content, that too in a structured manner. There's always, I always keep on saying, even if you split it, but I know you have so many things, you want to present it logically, but you're able to cover it remarkably well, and then it just makes sense. Yes, Rahul, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, awesome presentation. Radhe Radhe Govind Radhe. Helium Bhakti, helium balloon of Bhakti ki ही intrinsic motivation दिला दे. Radhe Radhe. बेहतरीन presentation.
Yeah, very nice, Rahul. Anybody else who wants to share anything for the awesome presentation that we had, or any reflections on what you heard and listened to today from this presentation? Please fill out the feedback tracker, send out the remarks, what you liked, what you would like to see more of, and always share it with the team. So please do fill it out as well. Anybody else? We have time, little bit of time. By the way, tomorrow we have spiritual secrets session around the same time, and we'll continue. I'll see you on Sunday, and the tomorrow session not to be missed. We have Yoga Fest coming up, and then we have family camp registration, right? Online as well as in person. Both are open right now. Anything else you wanted to talk about? But let's open it up. Anybody else who wants to share?
Tomorrow
What
is
will-
Thursday, right?
Tomorrow is?
Thursday. So tomorrow we have the quiz, the interactive quiz from Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita.
Or we will have it in that new style that Rahul and our quiz masters Arun, they have done it with. I don't know what is going on with my head right now. So yes, tomorrow we will have that interactive quiz, slide based, not Kahoot. So please do come. It's a very different, creative way of recapping the knowledge. So don't miss out on that. So whatever I said, that's day after. Okay.
No, and just to clarify, actually, day after is a very, very special day because we are going to have the commencement of the Dallas Yoga Festival on Friday evening with Swamiji here. And more importantly, there's going to be an excellent show by our in-house team, our cultural team of Radhakrishna Temple, which has many, many elements which you don't want to miss out on. So definitely tune into it. And just for that, for all of this, we will also not have spiritual secrets from Hinduism class so that everybody can put their full focus on the Dallas Yoga Festival. So yeah.
Yes. So that is the event to look forward to.
Rahulji wants to add. So please, Rahulji, go ahead.
Rahul?
Yeah, Radhe. If we have few minutes, we can show a 1 minute reel about that upcoming ceremony also.
So in few minutes, you can show a 1 minute reel. Yeah, go ahead. Please.
Let me know once you can see the screen.
That's a nice one. Thank you, Rahul. Is there anything else you wanted to share or talk about?
Ajit ji just sent a message in the chat. Invaluable thoughts for attainment of Bhakti Bhav.
Yeah, that balloon that we flew with towards the end, helium filled, right? And we spoke about that Bhakti Bhavs in the beginning. So yeah, that's where we tie up things. But yeah, fantastic presentation. Yes, Rahul?
And I also have one more thing to add.
Mhm.
Rahul, do you want to say something?
Yeah, there is an interesting comment from Shalini ji that she says, "Thank you, Cash ji. It will be nice to have the cash collection series in the Radha Krishna Bhakti app in the future."
Yeah, that could be your next gig, maybe you want to work on. Okay, give it a thought. Cash collection, like butter
Yeah.
pot collection. Yeah? Okay.
So actually with Radhakrishna Bhakti app, again, I wanted to reiterate, I hope all of you are having this app and you are making best use of this wonderful app. And for those who will not be able to attend the Yoga Fest in person, I think the live broadcast will be there up on the app as well. So stay tuned for that. And the Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism Challenge, the 8th episode is out. So if you haven't yet completed your 8th day of the challenge, do it and increase your butter pots. And I don't know if you've seen, but there's a leaderboard as well on the app. So you can check your ranking on the leaderboard. There is weekly ranking, monthly ranking, and overall ranking. So this is all fun, spiritual fun. So you can check that out.
Yeah, and if you have
Okay.
any questions related to the app or related to any of the challenges, we have our walking and talking encyclopedia, Sandhya, right? You can ask.
Not just me. If you hear Dhruvil, he has also been making a lot of use of this app, and he is giving his testimonials day after day regarding it. So yeah.
Wonderful going. And I would encourage all of you, whoever is taking challenges, to give your testimonials. You never know whom it can inspire and help them build a hook to Radha Krishna. So, okay. So with that
Okay.
said, I
So
think we can do a
Bhakti
bit of,
Shatak?
yes. So I think we're going to alternate between Bhakti Shatak and Radha Govind Geet going forward, right? So yeah,
Yes, yes,
do that. It will bring in some variety too, and we'll do that. Let's do that. Maybe few chantings, 3 hands, and then we will wrap up today's session.
yes. Let me just the sub sadhan one we will do.
Sure. Yeah, we can do this one.
Okay. सब साधन संपन्न कहाँ पूछत सब संसार राधे राधे साधनहीन प्रपन्न कहाँ पूछत नंद कुमार राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे. The world runs after those who possess the support of material opulences. However, Sri Krishna loves those who have no other support and are completely surrendered to him.
This word sadhan is repeated in our session as well. I see some coincidence happen, not sadhan bhakti, but he's talking about sadhan, right? Whatever when we try to do it through those means. Okay, let's take 2 more hands. Swati ji, please go ahead.
Oh, Swati ji. Yes, Swati ji. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. सब साधन संपन्न कहाँ पूछत सब संसार राधे राधे साधनहीन प्रपन्न कहाँ पूछत नंद कुमार राधे राधे. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank
And
you.
wonderful session by KSG. It's always wonderful. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे सब साधना संपन्न कहाँ पूछत सब संसार राधे राधे साधनहीन प्रपन्न कहाँ पूछत नंद कुमार राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे राधे
Very nice.
राधे.
Thank you, Riya ji. Radhe Radhe. So it's a beautiful verse. Maharaj is saying that, world looks after people. They run after people who have means, right? Who have power, fame, influence. The world runs after those kind of people. But in case of God, he goes after people who have nothing and who, even though they may have everything, but they still say, we are dependent on you, God. So Nirashrit is the ones that God goes after. So it's a beautiful verse. So thank you. With that, we come to the end of today's session. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Like I said, it's going to be a wonderful interactive quiz, not a Kahoot style, but very creatively our quiz masters create that. So I'm looking forward to that interaction and recap the knowledge that we have learned as well. So thank you, Radhe Radhe. Good night, good day from my side, and thanks, Cash, again for the wonderful presentation. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Good night, good day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe.